Okay, good morning to everyone. In the yesterday's class, we were discussing about the the energy law. That is, energy can be neither be created nor be destroyed, but it can be transferred from one form to other form. So then we were discussing about the types of energy, that is renewable energy and non-renewable energy. Of course, we'll go a little bit fast because you already know this, some of the basic concepts. But what we'll do is that we'll try to relate with respect to our buildings. So the renewable energy can be generated continuously, practically without decay of source. For example, we can say the solar energy, wind energy, geothermal energy, hydro energy, that is water related, then biomass. What we are talking about the biomass means, you can say the biomass energy uh, um, is related to the the production of we can call it as H2 gas, that is hydrogen. You can say this is hydrogen. So using biomass, we can going to generate some of the hydrogen. You know that hydrogen bomb, it is a powerful, it is made up of the hydrogen. Uh, Here also we are going to generate the power. From the biomass, we are going to generate a hydrogen as well as the CH4, that is methane, ethane gases that can be used for the production of power. Then tidal, of course, the tidal energy we already know how exactly it can be. The water electrolysis. So means it is the splitting of, it is nothing but splitting of H2O, that is water. We know that the water component, that is H2O, this can be splitted as nascent oxygen. So then again it is linked to your what we are talking about, the hydrogen energy. It is complete pure form of energy. Why? Because it does not going to affect your environment. What we are talking about, the carbon footprint, this will not be there for this hydrogen. But only what is happening is that whatever the water electrolysis, what we are speaking about, this has to be splitted. Whatever, so for example, water, it has to be broken down and H2 gas has to be released. H2 gas has to be released. But if you want to split that, we require one membrane called PEM membrane. That is proton exchange membrane. This proton exchange membrane is going to split the water as the hydrogen component as well as the oxygen component. And the cost of this is very high. Whatever this is there, the cost is very high. In some of the other countries, they already started this um, by dividing the water molecule and they are generating the hydrogen energy. Suppose if anybody invents the low membrane which can divide the hydrogen and oxygen, then it will be a wonderful achievement for the world, because world is waiting for this. if anybody is going to divide this, or anybody going to invent the membrane which can divide the hydrogen from the water, means it is and a big contribution for the energy sector. And whatever we are talking about the global warming, carbon footprint, that cannot be come into picture at all. So this is one in India, two places the research is going on. Two places. One is in IISc Bangalore, and one more it is in IIT Kanpur. Only two places the research is going on regarding this water electrolysis from last 20 years. Okay, but in other countries, the whatever we are talking about the water electrolysis, it has already, they have begun it. For example, if you go to Israel, they already started some of the energy saving techniques or energy producing techniques, especially water electrolysis. Then when it comes to solar energy can be converted into electrical energy by using solar panels. You already know that solar powered electrical generation depends on the heat engines, very important, and the photovoltaics. Whatever we are talking about the solar panels, it consists of photovoltaic cells. That photovoltaic cells is going to convert the whatever the radiations coming from the sun, it is going to convert it into electrical energy. So then best example, solar cooker is there, heater is there, cells are there. So then the advantages are like so one is it is a big contribution from the solar energy, that is carbon footprint or the carbon dioxide it is not going to release. Then the minimum impact, of course, but disadvantage is that it is not constant, it depends on the weather conditions, time and location. And one more you can add, you can cost, it is not that much affordable per unit of power consumption. Now if you see the whatever the disadvantages what you are talking about, the cost of production is comparatively more 20% more than your coal based thermal power plants. Coal based thermal power plants, that has to be keep it in mind, because there whatever the cost we are talking about, when the production is 20% more, then you have to charge more also. So in the last year the government of Karnataka has procured around 3 megawatts of power, units of power from Gujarat as well as from Chhattisgarh with 9 rupees per unit. 9 rupees per unit. So it is very high compared to other cities, but in the coal based whatever we are procuring with 4 to 5 rupees per unit, that is 4 to 5 rupees per unit. So then when it comes to the wind energy generated by the wind turbines, it mainly used to generate the electricity. So India is the world 5th largest, this is very important. It is the 5th largest producer of electricity generation in this area. What we are talking about the wind energy, it is the 5th largest producer. So then advantages, wind turbines, oftenly we can call it the windmills, do not release any emissions. important. Again, it linked to the what we can call it as green energy that pollutes the air as well as the water. Then disadvantage, installation and maintenance cost is very high. Of course, it is very high at the initial cost. What we are talking about, this is very high. Only few places are there in the world where the wind blow continuously throughout the year. This is very important. The last one, what we are talking about, whatever once you install it, it has to come for the whole year. But in some places, in some seasons, the whatever the wind energy is producing, it's very less. But during some of the rainy seasons and some of uh, uh, monsoon, uh, then normally what will happen is that you may get some of the very good wind based energy compared to your whatever the coal based energy. So then the geothermal energy is a heat from within the earth. So we can recover this heat as a steam or heat water. This is how exactly it can be done. So we can recover this as a steam or hot water and use it to heat buildings or to generate the electricity. Heat buildings as well as the electricity. Then best examples are hot springs, then smokes and geysers. Some of the advantages you can see, the carbon dioxide emission levels are very low compared to the what we are talking about, the coal based. Then the release less than 1% of the carbon dioxide. The disadvantage is that installation cost is very high. That is why it is not economical, and it will release the harmful gases, because we know that in earth crust many minerals are there. So when it is going to do that, it is going to release many harmful gases like H2S, carbon dioxide. So that kind of gases will be there. Sometimes methane gas also it is going to release, and many noxic gases. Immediately, what you can call um, will fall down when you inhale all these noxic gases. That is why very few countries are generating the geothermal energy. Of course, in India, we are not doing it. In only one place, they have targeted that in Chhattisgarh. They are using this geothermal energy to produce the electricity. But in India, we are purely dependent on the um, first one, that is the coal based, second priority nuclear, and the third priority it is the solar. So the remaining uh, uh, hydro energy, of course, this it requires a little bit more explanation as well. We will discuss this with the whatever the water electrolysis technique in the next class. Thank you.